step came a small reminder. She was far from home. The signs, the sounds, the faces, everything felt unfamiliar. A Black American woman in a city where she stood out more than she ever had. Still, she whispered to herself, "You earned this." And she believed it. Juana had built her brand, JJ Atelier, from her tiny Brooklyn apartment, stitching fabrics at 3 a.m., sketching designs between freelance jobs, and fighting doubt with stubborn determination. Being invited to Seoul for a high-profile fashion collaboration wasn't luck. It was the universe finally acknowledging her hard work. The welcome gala took place that night at the Grand Hanul Hotel, a towering building of mirrored steel and glittering lights. Juana paused outside the entrance, the cool breeze brushing her cheeks as she adjusted the strap of her shimmering black gown, one she designed herself. Under the lights, her deep brown skin glowed beautifully. Inside, the ballroom looked like a scene stolen from a dream. Crystal chandeliers, soft violins, guests dressed in couture, speaking in elegant tones. All eyes shifted to her when she stepped in. A ripple of whispers, a few curious stares, some admiring looks. Her work had already circulated online, and her invitation alone whispered, "Rising star." She smiled politely and walked with confidence, even though her stomach fluttered nervously. Fashion editors approached her. Influencers complimented her dress. A CEO from a luxury brand asked about her new collection. She felt seen, respected, appreciated. But then, everything stopped. Jae-Min Han didn't enter the room, he commanded it. A tall, breathtaking figure in a tailored midnight blue suit. He moved with the effortless grace of someone born into power. His jawline sharp, expression calm, his aura cold yet captivating. Guests instinctively stepped back to give him space, not out of fear, but reverence. Even without an introduction, Juana knew who he was. Korea's youngest billionaire, heir to the Han dynasty of corporations. A man whose public persona was elegance layered over ice. But what she didn't expect was for him to look directly at her. Their eyes met, and in that single moment, the noise of the ballroom faded into a distant hum. His gaze didn't flicker, didn't shift away. It held her still, examining her, absorbing her, as if he had discovered a new piece of art in the middle of the crowd. Juana swallowed hard. Her heart gave a traitorous flutter. Jae-Min walked toward her with quiet, deliberate steps. "Miss Johnson?" he said, his voice deep and velvety smooth. She nodded, hoping he didn't notice how her breath hitched. "Yes, that's me." His eyes softened, though his expression remained reserved. "Your work is extraordinary. I reviewed your portfolio last week. You have a way of blending boldness with elegance." Juana blinked. He had seen her portfolio? You reviewed my work personally?" she asked. A faint smile tugged at his lips, not warm, but intrigued. "Of course, a designer like you is not easily overlooked." Heat rushed to her cheeks. Compliments from others were flattering. Compliments from him were dizzying. For the next 20 minutes, they spoke. Though spoke felt too casual a word for the charged, magnetic pull between them. He asked about her inspirations, her childhood, her struggles breaking into the fashion world. Each question was thoughtful, as if he wanted to uncover every layer of who she was. And all the while, his gaze never left her. Intense, searching, quietly possessive. Juana felt something she hadn't felt in years. Seen, not for her designs, not for her achievements, but for herself. Later that night, as guests mingled and laughter echoed through the hall, Jae-Min remained near her. He introduced her to powerful figures, gently guiding her with a hand at the small of her back, each touch sending sparks up her spine. At one point, during a toast to the collaboration, his fingers brushed her wrist. A small, soft touch, barely noticeable, but her pulse jumped, and he felt it. His eyes lowered to her wrist, then lifted to meet her gaze again, as if memorizing the rhythm of her heartbeat. It was too intimate, too unexpected, too dangerous, and yet Juana didn't pull away. When the gala ended, she stepped outside into the cool night air. The city lights reflected in her eyes as she exhaled slowly. Her phone buzzed, a message. Unknown number. It was an honor meeting you. I hope this is not the last time. J.H. Juana felt her heart stutter. Seoul was supposed to be a work trip, a chance to grow her brand, a stepping stone in her career. But after tonight, she knew it would be something more, something thrilling, something unexpected, something that would change her life forever. Juana didn't expect her second day in Seoul to begin with chaos, but it did. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Emails, interviews requests, collaboration teams wanting meetings, fashion bloggers posting clips of her from the gala. She had been seen standing next to Jae-Min Han, and apparently in South Korea that meant instant attention. But none of that compared to the message she received at exactly 8:03 a.m. Yotha, are you free for breakfast? Juana stared at her screen. Her heart did a strange, traitorous leap. She typed, deleted, typed again. Juana, I have meetings today. A pause. Then another message. Yotha, cancel the first one. Her brows shot up. Excuse me? She muttered to herself. Before she could reply, her phone rang. Her project coordinator, Minseo. Miss Juana, the young woman exclaimed. Your meeting with Makwa Textiles has been postponed. They said the representative had an emergency. Juana blinked. An emergency? At the exact moment Jae-Min told her to cancel? That didn't feel like coincidence. What about the other meeting? Juana asked. Still scheduled, Minseo replied. I'll send a car to pick you up at noon. No more calls came. No more interruptions. But one more text did. Yotha, I'll be downstairs in 10 minutes. Juana stared at the message. He's coming here? She rushed to the mirror. Her curls were messy. She was wearing a simple white t-shirt and high-waisted jeans. No makeup. Zero glamour. Perfect, she whispered sarcastically. Great timing. Then someone knocked gently on her hotel door. Not downstairs. Her door. Juana's breath caught. She opened it and nearly lost her ability to speak. Jae-Min stood at her doorway holding 2 coffee cups and a white bag. His suit was immaculate as always, but his expression seemed softer today, almost warm. Good morning, he said. Juana blinked. You're early. I prefer not to waste time. His eyes traveled over her casual outfit, and a small smile appeared. You look beautiful, beautiful, in a t-shirt and puffed-out hair. Was he insane, or just dangerously charming? I didn't expect you to come all the way up here, she said, stepping aside. I wanted privacy, he replied simply, walking inside as if he'd done it 100 times. Public places can be distracting. She didn't miss the subtle hint behind his words. He handed her a warm cup. Caramel latte. You ordered it at the gala last night. Juana stared at him. You noticed. I notice everything about you. Her breath hitched. This man was too intense, too observant, too much. She sat on the couch. He sat beside her, far too close, and handed her a small pastry. When do you start working today? He asked. Noon, she replied. You really got my meeting postponed, didn't you? I simply made a call. His tone was casual, as if rearranging business schedules was normal. I wanted to see you. Juana didn't know what to say. No man had ever pursued her with such quiet confidence. Not with arrogance, but with intention. You must be used to getting what you want, she said carefully. For most things, yes. He turned to look at her fully. But you? No, I'm not used to this. Used to what? To feeling drawn to someone so quickly. Juana's lips parted slightly. The honesty in his voice unsettled her. It felt raw, unpolished, real. Something she didn't expect from a billionaire groomed to perfection. I think we should slow down, she whispered. Jae-Min didn't flinch. He didn't argue. He simply leaned back, the ghost of a smile touching his lips. I can slow down, he said. But I won't stay away. Her chest tightened. This wasn't a gentle crush. This wasn't casual interest. This was a man who had chosen her, and didn't hide it. For the next few days, Jae-Min appeared everywhere. A driver showed up each morning with a fresh bouquet of lilies, her favorite. She had never told him that information. Private lunches at exclusive rooftop restaurants. Unexpected drop-ins at her studio, bringing rare fabrics for her to explore. Dinners filled with laughter, teasing, and the quiet, intense way he looked at her as if memorizing every movement she made. Yet for all his presence, Jae-Min never pushed beyond what she allowed. He kept a respectful distance, but an undeniable closeness. One night, while walking her to her hotel room, he paused. "May I ask you something?" he said softly. "Of course. Why do you look away when I stare at you too long?" Juana froze. I don't know. Ido. He stepped closer, his voice deepening. "You're afraid of what it means." Her heart raced. "And what does it mean?" "That you feel the same connection I feel." The hallway was silent. Too quiet. Too intimate. Juana swallowed. "Jae-Min, you barely know me. That's why I want to," he whispered. The elevator chimed faintly behind them. He leaned in, not to kiss her, but to touch her cheek gently, his thumb brushing her skin with reverence. "Good night, Juana." He turned and walked away, leaving her standing breathless and shaken in the dim hallway. Later that night, as Juana lay in her hotel bed staring at the ceiling, she finally admitted something she had been trying to ignore. She was falling for him. Too fast, too deeply, too dangerously, but she couldn't stop it. The way he looked at her, the way he listened, the way he moved the world around just to be near her, it was overwhelming, and beautiful, and frightening, all at once. She pressed a hand over her heart. "Jae-Min Han," she whispered to the darkness. "You're going to be trouble, aren't you?" And somewhere in the city, Jae-Min stood in his penthouse balcony, looking out over Seoul's lights, a faint smile on his lips. He already knew the answer. Juana had known Jae-Min for only a few weeks, yet every day felt like an entire season of emotion, wonder, and confusion wrapped into one. His presence filled rooms, and his absence felt strangely loud, like something important was missing. She tried to keep her balance, to remind herself that she had come to Seoul for work, not romance, but he made it difficult, impossible even. Still, she told herself she wasn't ready for anything serious. Jae-Min seemed to accept that. At least she thought he did. On a crisp Friday evening, Juana received a message from him. "Wear something elegant. I'm sending a car in 1 hour." Juana frowned. She typed, "For what?" He responded instantly, "A moment I don't want to share with anyone else." Her stomach fluttered. He was being cryptic again. Charming but unsettling. The car arrived exactly on time. Inside lay a small black velvet box. Her breath caught. No, it couldn't be, but when she opened it, it wasn't a ring. Just a delicate diamond bracelet, elegant, feminine, subtly extravagant. A note was tucked inside. For tonight. Her heartbeat softened. Not a proposal, just a gift. Still, why did her hands tremble? The car stopped atop a hill overlooking Seoul. Lanterns guided her down a narrow path lined with cherry blossoms, even though it was not their season. Jae-Min must have arranged the trees to be lit from below, making them glow like they were blooming just for her. At the end of the path stood a glass pavilion, its walls transparent, giving a breathtaking view of the city. Jae-Min waited inside, standing beside a table set for two. Candles flickered softly, casting golden light across his features. He looked devastatingly handsome. "Juana," he murmured as she approached, taking her hand and brushing his lips against her knuckles. A gesture so gentle she nearly forgot to breathe. "You didn't tell me we were having dinner," she whispered. "It's not dinner," he replied. She looked around, confused. "Then what is?" But he gently pressed a finger to her chin, guiding her face up. "Just be here with me." And for a while they talked about childhood dreams, failures, fears. She told him about designing dresses out of thrift store scraps as a kid. He told her about growing up in a world where his future was written before he even learned to write his own name. He laughed. Actually laughed. and Juana realized she had never truly seen him relax until this moment. But something in his eyes was shifting, growing more intense, more vulnerable. She felt it coming before he even moved. Jae-Min stood up quietly, his chair gliding back across the floor. The air shifted with him. "Juana," he said softly, "I didn't bring you here for romance." Her heart sank. Her stomach tightened. Not romance. Had she misread everything? His jaw tensed, as if he were gathering courage. "I brought you here," he continued, "because I refuse to lose you." She froze. Lose her? Did he think? He reached into his jacket. Time slowed. Her breath stopped. And then, he dropped to one knee. Juana's eyes widened. "Jae-Min, no. No, wait. Juana Johnson," he said, voice deep but shaking slightly. "I want you, in my life, at my side, always." Her breath trembled. "Jae-Min, we've only known each other a few weeks." "I know." He met her eyes with a raw honesty she had never seen in him before. "And yet, I've never been this certain of anything in my life." "Jae-Min." He opened the velvet box. Inside was a ring too beautiful to exist. A flawless diamond, soft-edged, reflecting the entire city. "This is too fast," she whispered, her voice breaking. "It is fast," he admitted. "But time means nothing when the connection is real." She shook her head, eyes filling with heat. "You don't even know everything about me." "I will." His voice deepened. "And I want to. Every part." "And your family?" she whispered. "They won't accept me." A shadow passed over his face. "They will learn to." She swallowed, her heart thundering in her chest. "And if they don't?" she whispered. He looked at her with a quiet, dangerous intensity. "Then I will choose you." Juana felt something inside her unravel. No one had ever chosen her like that. So fully, so fiercely. Her fear clashed with desire, with hope, with the fragile truth that she was falling for him. Deeply, helplessly, irrevocably. "Say yes, Juana," he whispered. "Please." The word slipped out of her before her mind could stop it. "Yes." Jae-Min exhaled a breath he had been holding for years. He slid the ring onto her finger and pulled her into his arms, holding her as if she were the only thing anchoring him to this world. For a moment, everything felt perfect. Too perfect. Because somewhere in the shadows outside the pavilion, someone was watching, and they were not pleased. The Han family mansion was nothing like Juana expected. From the outside, it looked more like a private palace than a home, sprawling across several acres of land, surrounded by tall stone walls and guarded by discreet, uniformed security. The driveway curved beneath a canopy of ancient pine trees, their branches whispering in the cold Korean wind. The moment the car passed through the iron gates, Juana felt something shift inside her. A heaviness, a chill, a quiet warning. "This is enormous," she whispered, staring out the window. Beside her, Jae-Min smiled faintly. "It's been in the family for generations. My great-grandfather built the first wing. The rest was added over time." Juana forced a smile. "It's beautiful." But beauty wasn't the word. Overwhelming, intimidating, silent. Those felt more appropriate. As the car stopped before the grand entrance, a line of servants hurried into formation. The doors swung open, revealing a marble foyer with ceilings high enough to echo every breath. A woman stepped forward, elegant, poised, dressed in a silk hanbok. Empress Han, Jae-Min's mother. Her eyes swept over Juana slowly, sharply, assessing everything, her clothes, her posture, her very presence, as if weighing her worth. So this was the woman Juana would have to win over. "Mother," Jae-Min said with a polite bow. "This is Juana." Mrs. Han returned her son's bow and then looked at Juana. Her lips curved into a smile, thin, practiced, and cold. "So," she said, her voice smooth and emotionless, "this is the woman my son has chosen." Juana bowed respectfully. "It is an honor to meet you, Mrs. Han." Mrs. Han didn't bow back. Instead, she simply turned toward the servants. "Prepare the east wing." She will be staying there. Juana blinked. The East Wing. Before she could ask anything more, Mrs. Han walked away, her footsteps clicking sharply against the marble floor. Jae-Min placed a hand at the small of Juana's back. Don't mind her. She isn't cold by nature. She's just cautious with new people. Juana pressed her lips together. She didn't even say welcome. He paused, then sighed. It will take time. His arm tightened around her. But I'm here, and that's what matters. A maid named Hannah guided Juana through the massive hallways. Her steps were quick but quiet. Her expression friendly but nervous, as if she were constantly afraid of being overheard. This house is very old, Hannah said in a hushed tone. It can be confusing at first. There are many rooms, many corridors. Juana smiled warmly. It's okay. I'll learn. But as they walked deeper into the mansion, Juana noticed something. The hall grew darker, quieter, colder. They passed closed doors, ancient portraits, statues staring with stone eyes. Every sound echoed, even the faint rustle of Hannah's skirt. The house felt alive, listening, watching. A sudden chill brushed Juana's arm, making her shiver. Is the air conditioning on? She asked. Hannah hesitated. No, miss, not in this part of the house. Juana frowned. Before she could ask more, Hannah stopped abruptly at a set of double doors. This is your room, she said softly. If you need anything, please call. I will come right away. She bowed quickly and scurried off almost too quickly. Juana watched her leave, confusion prickling at her skin. Why did the maid seem afraid? Hours later, as Juana unpacked her things, she realized something strange. Her room felt wrong, not uncomfortable, but as if it had been untouched for years. The air felt still, too still. The furniture was covered in immaculate white sheets, the scent of lavender lingering in the corners. Everything was perfect, too perfect. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jae-Min. I finished my meeting. Come to the library. I want to show you something. Juana smiled and slipped into a soft beige dress. She followed the directions he sent, turning left at the portrait of the Han ancestors, then down the long hall lined with dark wood panels. But halfway to the library, she heard it. A whisper, faint, soft, like fabric dragging across the floor. She whipped around. Nothing. The hall was empty, painfully so. Hello? She called out. Silence. But as she turned back toward the library, a door at the end of the hall creaked. Ever so slightly. Juana froze. A cold draft swept past her, brushing the back of her neck. The door wasn't labeled. Not ornate. Just plain, wooden, old, and somehow darker than the others. Every instinct told her to walk away, but curiosity tugged at her feet. She stepped forward and reached for the doorknob. Miss! Juana nearly jumped out of her skin. Hannah stood a few feet behind her, panting slightly, as if she had run. You must not go in there, the maid whispered urgently. Why not? Juana asked, her voice trembling. Hannah's eyes darted around the hall. That room is off limits, even to family. Why? Hannah swallowed hard. Please, she begged softly. Do not open it. Not ever. Juana's skin chilled. I wasn't trying to. It doesn't matter, Hannah said quickly. Some doors in this house stay closed for a reason. She took Juana's hand gently. Come. Your fiancé is waiting. Juana let herself be guided away, but her mind stayed fixed on the wooden door with no name. The door that whispered. The door that breathed cold air. The door Hannah warned her never to open. When Juana reached the library, Jae-Min met her with a warm smile and pulled her into a gentle embrace. I missed you, he murmured into her hair, but Juana couldn't shake the chill in her bones. Jae-Min, she whispered. What's inside the locked room in the West Hall? He stiffened, slowly, tightly. Then he released her and stepped back, his expression shifting. Who told you about that room? He asked quietly. His tone wasn't anger. It was fear. Juana's heartbeat sped up. I just saw it while walking. It looked. Juana, he interrupted firmly. I told them not to let you wander that part of the house alone. Her breath hitched. Why? What is it? What's in there? He walked to the window, his jaw clenched, his back tense. It's nothing you need to worry about, he said. Some parts of this house hold memories. Not good ones. Jae-Min. He turned, his gaze sharp. Promise me you won't go near that room again. Juana stared at him, fear flickering in her chest. Promise me, he repeated. She nodded slowly. Okay, I promise. He didn't look relieved. He looked haunted. As he wrapped his arms around her again, Juana pressed her cheek to his chest, but her eyes stayed open. The mansion was beautiful, but beneath its elegance, something dark pulsed quietly, something hidden, something forbidden, something she had accidentally brushed against tonight. And she knew, deep in her bones, this house had secrets, and they were watching her. Juana woke to the sound of breathing, not her own, something slow, heavy, almost labored. Her eyes snapped open. Darkness swallowed the room, the heavy curtains blocking out even the faintest light. For a moment, she lay still, her pulse thundering as her ears strained. There it was again, a quiet inhale, a deeper exhale. Not from beside her. Jae-Min wasn't sleeping over tonight. This breathing was coming from the corner of the room. Very slowly, Juana turned her head toward the sound. Nothing, just shadows. But the darkness felt thicker there, like it was clinging to something. She sat up, her breath trembling. Is someone there? Silence. Then, knock. A single tap on the bathroom door. Juana nearly screamed. Her hands shook violently as she reached for the lamp. The moment the light flicked on, the breathing stopped. The knock stopped, but the air remained cold. Too cold for a room with the windows closed. Her mind raced. Did I imagine it? Was it the pipes? Did I dream it? She pressed a palm over her pounding heart. This house was getting under her skin. The Han family gathered for breakfast the next morning. The room was stunning, floor-to-ceiling windows, sunlight bouncing off crystal vases, long wooden table polished to perfection. But the atmosphere was frozen. Mrs. Han sat at the head of the table, her expression unreadable, her posture straight, her eyes cutting like glass. Jae-Min sat beside Juana and gently held her hand under the table. Did you sleep well? He asked softly. She hesitated. I thought I heard something last night. His jaw tightened. Juana, Mrs. Han interrupted without looking up from her tea. Some rooms hold echoes, she said. Her tone was calm, but the words sliced through the air like ice. Juana stiffened. Mrs. Han slowly lifted her gaze, pinning Juana with a cool, unreadable stare. I trust, she continued, that you are not wandering the house at night. Juana swallowed. I wasn't. I stayed in my room. Good, Mrs. Han replied, because some places should remain undisturbed, especially by outsiders. The last word landed like a warning. Jae-Min shot his mother a sharp glare, but she only sipped her tea, unfazed. Juana felt smaller and smaller by the second. When breakfast ended, Jae-Min held her gently by the arm and pulled her aside. You didn't go near the West Hall again, did you? His voice was low, anxious. No, she said honestly. But something woke me up last night. What? He asked. She hesitated. It sounded like breathing. He went still, completely still. Was anyone in your room? He pressed. No. I checked. But, he exhaled shakily, then cupped her cheeks. Juana, listen to me. This house is old. It makes noises. Your imagination. It wasn't imagination, she whispered. Something flashed in his eyes. Fear, regret, guilt. He looked away. Before she could question him, he said quietly, pack a bag. We're staying in the city tonight. While packing, Juana kept looking toward the bathroom door, the one she heard the knock from. Now, in daylight, it looked ordinary, harmless, but she still shut it firmly and locked it. Her suitcase lay open on the bed when she noticed something strange. A painting she hadn't seen before hanging above the dresser. It wasn't there yesterday. She was sure of it. She stepped closer. The painting was of a woman, beautiful, pale, dressed in traditional Korean clothing. Her hair was styled neatly, her lips red, but her eyes were black. Not painted dark, but empty, like a void behind glass. Juana's stomach twisted. She leaned in. The woman seemed familiar somehow. A strange familiarity that crawled across Juana's skin. Then she noticed something horrifying. The woman's lips were curved into the faintest smile. Not the serene kind. No, something else. A knowing smile. A dangerous smile. A smile watching her. A shiver rattled Juana's spine. She backed away quickly. Why is this here? Who put this up? She grabbed her suitcase and hurried out of the room, her pulse racing. On her way down the hall, Juana heard voices. Faint, urgent, whispering. At first she thought it was servants. But the hall was empty. The whispers grew louder, hissing, rushing, almost pleading. It came from the locked west hall door. Juana froze mid-step. The whispers weren't speaking Korean. They weren't speaking English either. They were speaking in a sound that wasn't language at all, just pain, layered over pain. Her breath caught in her throat. She didn't move, didn't blink, didn't dare breathe. Then, a shadow passed under the door. Slow, dragging, human-shaped. Juana stumbled back, her whole body shaking. Miss Juana! Hannah ran toward her from a side corridor. What are you doing here? You must not. I heard something, Juana whispered. The maid paled. You must never answer those sounds. Hannah breathed. Please, this house. It remembers things. Bad things. Hannah, what's in that room? Juana begged. The maid's eyes filled with fear. Real sharp fear. Nothing living, miss, she whispered. Nothing living at all. By the time Juana met Jae-Min at the mansion entrance, she was trembling. He touched her cheek. You're cold. This house? She whispered. Something is wrong with it. For a brief moment his expression cracked. And that was when she realized. He knew. He knew something was wrong. He knew what haunted the halls. He knew what lived behind the locked door. Yet he brought her here. Jae-Min, she whispered, her voice shaking. What happened in this house? His jaw flexed. Not tonight, he said quietly. Just let me get you away from here. He led her into the waiting car. But as the gates closed behind them, Juana couldn't shake the feeling that the mansion wasn't done with her. She looked back through the rear window. A curtain moved on the second floor. And for the shortest moment, she saw a pale face watching the car leave. The same face from the painting. Smiling. Still. Unblinking. Waiting. Juana's breath turned to ice. The Han mansion had secrets. And those secrets were no longer hiding. They were watching. The city should have felt safer. Brighter. Louder. Alive. But after leaving the Han mansion, Juana felt none of that. Even the noise of Seoul, the cars, the neon lights, the murmurs of late-night crowds, couldn't drown out the cold that clung to her skin. That house had left something on her. A shadow. Presence. An echo of whispers she couldn't unhear. Inside the penthouse, Jae-Min tried to act normal. He poured her tea, ordered dinner, wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. But Juana watched him closely. He avoided her eyes. He kept his hands busy. He seemed afraid. Not of the house. Of what she might ask. Finally, she couldn't hold it in anymore. Jae-Min, she whispered. What is happening in that mansion? He froze mid-motion, the tea kettle halfway to the cups. For a long moment he didn't speak. Then he set the kettle down, his hands trembling. You weren't supposed to hear anything, he said quietly. Juana's heart hammered. Hear what, exactly? He moved to the balcony, staring out at the city as if it could give him courage. There are things about my family I've kept from you, he said. Not because I don't trust you, but because I didn't want you to be afraid of me. Her breath caught. Why would I be afraid of you? He didn't turn around. Because of what my family has done, he whispered. Juana stepped closer. Jae-Min, please, tell me. He finally met her eyes, and she saw it, that haunted look she'd noticed in the mansion. The weight of a truth he had carried alone for too long. The woman in the painting, he said softly. You saw it, didn't you? Juana stiffened. Yes, that was my aunt. Han So-hai. Juana blinked. Your aunt? He nodded. She lived in the West Wing. The locked room. A chill crawled up Juana's spine. What happened to her? She whispered. Jae-Min inhaled shakily. When she was 22, he said. She disappeared. Juana's breath stopped. Disappeared. They found her room in ruins, he continued. The door locked from the inside. No signs of struggle. No footprints. Just her hairpin on the floor. And her, Juana whispered. Never found. Juana's knees weakened. Jae-Min's voice deepened. My family doesn't talk about her. My mother believes her spirit still lingers. That she never left the house. Juana's chest tightened in terror. Jae-Min, I think I saw her. His face drained of color. What? She was in the painting, Juana whispered. And outside the window when we left. He stepped back, shaking his head. No. No, it's stress. Your mind is trying to explain the sounds you heard. Do you think I imagined the whispering? Juana snapped. The shadow moving under the door? The breathing? Jae-Min, something is in that house. A silence fell over the room. Thick, heavy, suffocating. Then Jae-Min said the words she feared most. You're not wrong. He walked to the table, opening a small wooden drawer. Inside was an old leather-bound book. Aged, cracked, worn at the edges. He placed it in front of her. This belonged to my grandfather, he said. Inside were records of the Han family tree, written in elegant brushstrokes. Photos, notes, and wrapped between the pages, a newspaper clipping. Young woman missing in Han residence. No evidence found. Another headline. Authorities baffled by strange occurrences in estate. And handwritten notes. Do not go near the West Wing. The whispers grew louder last night. She is lonely. Juana felt her blood freeze. She? Juana whispered. Jae-Min nodded slowly. My aunt was not the first to disappear, he said. Every generation has had someone vanish mysteriously inside that house. Juana's breath hitched. And your family still lives there? It's tradition, he said bitterly. Loyalty, duty. The Han mansion represents our legacy, but it also carries our sins. Her voice trembled. Do you think she's angry? He closed his eyes. I think she's waiting. Juana hugged herself, fighting the rising panic. Why didn't you tell me before I moved in? She said, voice cracking. Because I thought I could protect you, Jae-Min said. I thought if we stayed in the main wing, if you avoided the West Hall. He shook his head. But the house noticed you. Juana's heart dropped. What do you mean? He stepped toward her cautiously, as if afraid she'd break. You're the first person in years to hear her, he whispered. She doesn't reach out to just anyone. Juana's skin crawled. Why me? I don't know, he said. But when you entered that house, something changed. Her stomach twisted painfully. Jae-Min, I don't want to stay in that mansion. You won't, he promised immediately, stepping closer. We'll stay here. We'll figure this out together. But Juana's eyes were wide with terror. Is she going to come for me? She whispered. Jae-Min's silence was her answer. Later that night, while Jae-Min showered, Juana walked to the window to clear her mind. The city lights shimmered below, comforting, alive. Nothing like the suffocating silence of the mansion. She touched the glass and whispered, Please leave me alone. Then, something cold breathed against her neck. Juana froze. Her reflection on the glass flickered, and another face appeared behind hers. Pale, smiling, black, empty eyes. Juana screamed and spun around, but the room was empty, completely empty. The lights flickered once, then again, then died. Darkness swallowed her whole. Jae-Min, she cried out. The shower turned off. Juana? What happened? But he sounded far away, muffled, as if the darkness had walls. Something brushed her shoulder. A whisper echoed behind her ear. You shouldn't have come. The air turned ice cold. Her breath fogged the air. The presence leaned closer, so close she could feel its weight. Then, the lights snapped back on. Jae-Min burst from the hallway, grabbing her. Juana, what happened? She trembled violently, tears spilling down her cheeks. She's here, Juana whispered. She followed us. Jae-Min stared at her, horror sinking into his eyes. No, he murmured. No, she has never left the house. She can't leave. But Juana shook her head. She can now. Juana didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the woman's face. Pale, hollow, watching. The whispers echoed in her ears long after the apartment had gone silent. And Jae-Min never let go of her hand. By morning, her body was exhausted. But her mind was burning with a single truth. The spirit had followed her. She wanted something. She would not stop. And Juana wasn't going to wait helplessly for whatever came next. When sunlight finally broke through the curtains, Juana sat up and said firmly, Jae-Min, I need to go back to the mansion. He froze. Absolutely not. She's haunting me, Juana said. Running won't fix it. I won't put you in danger. You already did, she whispered. The words pierced him. He looked away, guilt twisting his features. I wanted to protect you from the truth, but I failed. Juana took his hand, her voice softer now. Then let me protect us both. We finish this, together. After a long, trembling sigh, he nodded. The Han estate looked different now. Not grand, not intimidating, just grieving. As the gates closed behind the car, Juana felt a familiar cold crawl up her spine. The mansion seemed to breathe, inhaling her presence, exhaling ancient memories. Mrs. Han waited at the top of the stairs. Her expression wasn't cold this time. It was weary, resigned. You brought her back, she said quietly. Juana stiffened. She followed us.
Emeres. Han nodded.
Then she has chosen you. Chosen me for what? To end this, Mrs. Han whispered. To free her. They led Juana and Jae-Min to the west wing, the place Juana had feared most. The locked door stood at the end of the hallway, still dark, still silent. But this time, Juana wasn't afraid. She felt determined. Mrs. Han handed Jae-Min a small iron key. This is the original key, the only one. Jae-Min took it with shaking fingers, staring at the door like it held every nightmare he tried to forget. Are you sure? He whispered to Juana. Yes. She placed her hand over his. We face her together. He unlocked the door. A cold wind burst through the hall as it creaked open, the kind that doesn't come from weather, but from something long trapped. Dust floated in the air like tiny ghosts. The room was untouched, frozen in time. An old vanity, a silk hanbok draped over a chair, a shattered mirror, a hairpin on the floor, and in the corner the same painting Juana saw in her room. But here the woman's smile was gone. Her face was blank, empty. Juana stepped inside. Her breath fogged instantly. Han So-hai, she whispered into the silence. We're here. Tell us what you want. For a moment nothing happened. Then, the door slammed shut behind them. The lights flickered wildly. Shadows raced across the walls like living creatures. Jae-Min grabbed Juana, shielding her with his body. Stay behind me. A low, wavering whisper filled the room. I was forgotten. Juana's heart pounded. The voice came from everywhere. And nowhere. She swallowed hard. We're not here to forget you. We're here to listen. The air crackled. The whisper strengthened. They hid me, silenced me, left me alone. Juana felt tears sting her eyes. What happened to you? The shadows swirled violently, then formed a shape. A woman, thin, broken, her face pale and hollow. Han So-hai. Her eyes, once empty, now glimmered with sorrow. Jae-Min stepped forward slowly, his voice trembling. Aunt So-hai.
I'm sorry.
We never knew. She turned her gaze to Juana. Only Juana. Show them the truth. The mirror shattered. Wind howled through the room. And suddenly the room changed. Juana wasn't in the mansion anymore. She stood in a memory. Han So-hai was alive, pacing the room anxiously. She was pregnant, terrified, alone. A man stood outside the door, yelling, threatening, pounding the wood. So-hai cried out, begging for help. But the house stayed silent. The family refused to intervene. They locked her away, to protect the family reputation. And one night, So-hai tried to escape through the window, but the old wood snapped beneath her. She fell. Her body never found, because the family hid everything, buried everything, even her memory. The vision shattered. Juana gasped, collapsing as the weight of So-hai's suffering hit her like ice. "Oh God!" she whispered. "They trapped her. She didn't disappear. She died trying to escape." Jae-min knelt beside her, tears streaming down his face. "I never knew. They lied to me. They lied to all of us." So-hai's spirit flickered before them, now clearer, calmer. Her eyes softened when she looked at Juana. "Thank you for seeing me." Juana reached out, tears falling. "You can rest now." A long silence filled the room. Then So-hai smiled, truly smiled, for the first time. Her edges dissolved into soft light. Her form brightened, and slowly, peacefully, she vanished. The cold left the room instantly. Warmth settled in its place. It was over. Days passed. Mrs. Han visited Juana quietly, her usual coldness replaced by humility. "You freed her," she said. "After decades of suffering, you freed her." Juana squeezed her hand. For the first time, Mrs. Han didn't pull away. Jae-min, now free from the shadows of his family's past, began the painful process of exposing the truth and restoring his aunt's honor. The mansion no longer whispered. The halls no longer watched. The locked room was opened permanently, sunlight flooding it for the first time in 50 years. And Juana? She found peace again. The nightmares faded. Her laughter returned. The house no longer haunted her. It respected her. Because she had listened. Because she had shown love where others had shown fear. On a quiet spring morning, in the mansion's garden blooming with cherry blossoms, Jae-min took Juana's hands. "No more secrets," he whispered. "No more darkness. I want to build something new with you. A life full of truth. A life that's ours." Juana smiled, tears shimmering. "You already have me," she whispered back. He kissed her gently. A kiss full of gratitude, love, and promise. The past was behind them. The curse was broken. The mansion finally felt like a home. And Juana and Jae-min began their new life. Not haunted, not afraid, but strong, united, and free. A love that survived even the darkest secrets. A love that healed what had been broken. A love that finally found its peace. Thanks for watching Folktales by Queen Dora. For more interesting stories, please click on the subscription button.